Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, where I try and find the silver linings in even the worst of films. I just want to briefly touch upon the fact that after seeing One Battle After Another with Leonardo Dicaprio, the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, I couldn't help but sit there and think to myself, is Leo the most sought-after actor and the greatest of all time? Now, on one hand, he is my favorite actor because he is in two of my favorite films out of a list of 10, and those two are Inception and The Departed. And Titanic is probably up there as well on my top 10 favorite films of all time, just because I think it's one of the most sweeping, epic love stories ever told. And yeah, I was on my drive home and I was thinking to myself, who hasn't Leo worked with? Because if we really take a step back and look at his resume, he's worked with almost all of the most iconic directors of all time. Now, there are clearly a lot of people not on this list, but when you think of today, who are the most iconic directors still working today? I think he's worked with all of them. Let's take a look. So he's worked with my favorite director of all time, Christopher Nolan, in Inception. My favorite film of all time, arguably my favorite performance of Leo, my favorite film from Nolan. So right off the bat, that's a high bar for me. But he also worked with Quentin Tarantino, not once, but twice. Once in Django Unchained as the villain, and then he worked with him again in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt, and I loved them both in that film. He also worked with Steven Spielberg in Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks in what I think is one of his greatest early in his acting career films that he's ever done, and it's one of my favorite Steven Spielberg films because of the kinetic energy of it. Like, it's telling a real life story about this kid that was able to con his way into being a doctor essentially and all these other things and faking and forging checks to make himself a billionaire. And Steven Spielberg tells it in a way that felt like his early Amblin films, like Goonies or an E.T. It has this energy to it that even though it's touching on very serious subject matter and a criminal that wound up working for the FBI, but he does it in a way that I felt was really exciting, especially for me being a really young kid watching it. I thought it was really entertaining because it just has this really chaotic, fun energy to it. It's no secret he works a lot with Martin Scorsese, whether that be Killers of the Flower Moon, or Shutter Island, or Gangs of New York, which also starred Daniel Day-Lewis, who is, in my opinion, the greatest actor of my generation. He was also in The Departed, which is my second favorite movie of all time, that was done by Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese and him really like to work together. They have a really good working relationship, and he'll probably be in Martin Scorsese's movies until Martin Scorsese retires or passes away of old age, but they just work really well together. And Martin Scorsese, say what you will about the fact that maybe he's not a storyteller, he doesn't go out of his way to tell his own stories. He has in Casino, but for the most part, he adapts books or other people's stories, but he does it really well. He gets great performances out of his actors, and it's one of the few directors working in Hollywood that everybody wants to work with. He worked with Clint Eastwood on J. Edgar, James Cameron in Titanic, Alejandro Inarritu in The Revenant, Adam McKay in Don't Look Up, Sam Raimi in The Quick and the Dead, Danny Boyle in The Beach, and Ridley Scott in Body of Lies, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I don't know this off the top of my head, and if I'm forgetting somebody, please comment down below in the comments. I'd love to grow my knowledge of other actors that have worked with this many iconic people, but I don't think anyone else outside of Leo has worked with the all-time greats like this. And it just furthers my argument that Leo is the second greatest actor of all time next to Daniel Day-Lewis, who is retired, although he did come out of retirement to be in his son's script, but that's besides the point. Outside of Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio is the most world-renowned actor in America because he's sought after by the most iconic directors of our generation. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, but many, many directors want to work with him and want to keep working with him. And now you add Paul Thomas Anderson to the list, which is arguably in the top 3 of the greatest directors of all time. And that's obviously a very subjective thing to say based off of taste, because a lot of people don't really care for Paul Thomas Anderson films. But what I mean by him being one of the greatest or in the top 3 is every single time the guy makes a film, it gets nominated for an Oscar and usually wins whoever's starring in the film an Oscar for Best Performance. Almost every single Paul Thomas Anderson movie is nominated for something. The guy just shits out gold. And now he works with Leo and has expressed wanting to keep working with him because he really enjoys the effort that Leo put into the role. I don't know, this is just food for thought. It further fueled my flames of saying that Leo is the greatest actor of all time, and further solidifies the fact that I just can't wait to see what he does next, because he's always working with somebody that wants to tell a really intriguing story, something original. If nothing else, when Leo makes a movie, it's not really something you've seen before, at least that he's done. The Departed's character is very different than the Wolf of Wall Street's character, which is a lot different than the Revenant's character, which is a lot different than One Battle After Another's character, which is a lot better than the character from Inception. He's always just giving us something unique, and he's working with people that want to tell original stories. I'm afraid that we won't get them for much longer, because not a lot of people are running out to see these films, and you absolutely should go out and see One Battle After Another, because it's the best film probably of the last 5 to 6 years, in my honest opinion. It's truly just a cinematic masterpiece from a storytelling point of view, from an acting point of view, from a script point of view. The movie is absolutely gorgeous. It was filmed on VistaVision, so it has this older, grainy, gritty look to it that makes it feel more like a filmic, old school movie. I just loved it so much, and I love watching him in these roles and really get lost in these characters that all these different directors keep handing him essentially on a silver platter. But what do you guys think? Are there any other actors that have worked with this many iconic directors before? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I didn't do enough research. I'm sure other people have come close, but I don't know about to the extent that Leo has. Let's talk about it down below. And as always, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time.